All right, so this is your classic couch stretch. I use a wall instead of a couch, but a wall would be a regression of this. We're going to do this from the bottom up, meaning we're going to emphasize the knee bend first and foremost to try to maximize the knee bend to create a quad stretch first. Down at the knee is where the most muscle mass is for the quad, and as a result, we want to emphasize the lengthening or eccentric orientation of the musculature there first and foremost. I see a lot of people just try to drive their hip into an extended position and tend to piss off or irritate the front of somebody's hip from too aggressively shoving them into hip extension. So I prefer to work from the bottom up, meaning we maximize the amount of knee bend first and then work our way up to a vertical position. So the lowest level is foot up against the wall, trying to get your shin vertical. The closer you slide your knee back to the wall and the more you make that shin vertical, the more of a stretch you're going to feel in the quad. To make it easier, you slide the knee away from the wall. That will make it easier for you to perform. And then you're going to put both hands on the ground, and depending on that position that you find comfortable, again, closer the knee to the wall, the harder it becomes, the further the knee out away from the wall, the easier it becomes. You're going to put both hands on the ground, and then you're just going to work your way up until eventually you get to a vertical position where your shoulders are directly over top of your knee. If you're able to take the knee all the way back to the wall, that means your shoulders are pretty darn close to being on top of the wall if we're, again, going for that vertical orientation. You need to avoid a hyperextended spine, but we don't want to necessarily emphasize too much of a posterior pelvic tilt. Again, a lot of times you'll find that irritates somebody's front of their hip joint. We want to keep the stretch feeling like a nice global stretch through the whole entire quad. You should never feel any type of pinpoint pain or discomfort sensations when you're doing a stretch. If you do, you need to regress it. To regress this further, a lot of times it's easier to keep the foot on top of a bench. And again, the closer you get your knee back towards the bench, the more aggressive the stretch is going to be. The further you work your knee out away from the bench, the less aggressive the stretch will be. Putting the foot on the bench allows you to relax the foot. So if you have some ankle range of motion limitations, then the bench is a nice option for you. But in the long run, we want to try to put that ankle up on the wall so that it works on creating ankle plantar flexion range of motion, and we work on the front of the ankle mobility. A lot of times people who lack ankle mobility or feel a pinch in front of their ankle actually lack the ability to plantar flex their ankle. So opening up the front of that joint actually a lot of times allows you to display closed chain ankle dorsiflexion a little bit more optimally, or the ability to get your knee out over top of the toe without feeling a pinch in the front of your ankle. Again, a lot of times that is solved by opening up the front of the ankle, and this is a nice way of comboing an ankle stretch, developing ankle joint range of motion at the talocrural joint, while pairing this with developing somebody's knee flexion and hip flexor quad elongation, something that a lot of people have tightness of just because of the amount of sitting that people do these days.